Okay, so this is the last of the reinforcement events that happens here, which is the British Corvette, and it's actually written correctly on there. With a 6, it'll get through. This is one of those big random die rolls that this game seems to love. Oh, look at that. All right, so that's 2 extra morale for Danzig. And, you know, given that maybe I'm cheating on the walls, I don't know. But that is probably should be game right there, to tell you the truth. It really should be. Let me think about the points that we're looking at. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 turns. Is if I could establish, which I probably can, although we're going to have a painful turn this time, 5 more of those investment points. And, well, probably a couple of points off the mortars too. 7. That brings me to like 9 points. So with this at 11 instead of 7, which is what it would be if the Corvette failed, and those are your 2 options. I mean, it either adds to or subtracts to. I think we're probably not going to be able to make our way through. But again, there's luck involved. The mortars could do very well. And I could also just be cheating and not be allowed to have done what I did, in which case the French had no chance of winning, ever since their troops got attritioned very badly. Entering the concept of silly mechanics, I'm marching forward, drop myself into square formation. This is the only way to deal with cav. I can't counter the cav with my own cav. I can't do anything along those lines. The only thing even though I have some, the only thing I can do is advance in square formation, but there's not really a good reason why I can't do that, especially under cover of these woods. Force that cav out of there. Should have done that last turn. Meanwhile, these guys, I want to leave them up there, force these grenadiers to make a choice between braving the gunfire or getting that out of the way first, because while I'm putting pressure here, you know, it would be an easy choice. I guess it doesn't really matter. I could run back. They'd have to garrison with 1 or something, but maybe they'll send 2 this way instead. Right now they're sending everyone in that direction because the French had to go first. But this is a real threat, and the investment may be over, to tell you the truth. I don't know. It's so hard to tell because, I mean, this is just ridiculous. Marching forward in square formation when I've got cav that should be able to protect me. Yeah. All right. And once again, so sickened by this operational map, I don't want to play anymore today. You know, I mean, I'm sure I'll come up more times, but yeah. The Prussians move forward to try to scare this cav away, and it moves a little bit, and some infantry deployed out here, whatever. I'm realizing there is actually a problem here, which is, yes, my cav attack value is reduced, but it's still pretty potent against non-square infantry. You can't enter the forest in square formation. So we got a problem. This attempted bit of cleverness doesn't work because there's this line of forest here. I'm not really sure what the Russians are going to do. I've wasted a couple of turns trying to engage this way, and now I'm like, oh, that's not going to work. I don't want to engage these guys down here particularly because, first of all, they outnumber the Russians. and the Russians will be defeated, and I probably will not get the success I want, although I might be able to maintain holding this star if that's the case. But if I could take the swamp area, I kind of force the French back into the have to fight for that again. However, I don't know if that's even possible. I'm diverting 2 of the grenadier units up to scare this guy away, which may seem extreme, but I don't know. I mean, it will turn out so if these guys can come down. Then I will want these back there. And then I also have forces here. Plus, there are still French forces available here that I could try to combine back into units. I think most of them are going to be 1-step units. This will be a 2-step unit if I look at the chart. So I actually have a fair amount of additional stuff because maybe I'm cheating in terms of the wall factor. I just don't know anymore. I'm growing very, very disillusioned, and to the extent that, like, I don't know if I want to play the other games that I have in this series. It's kind of like what happened with some other series that I have. It's just like, oh man, this one's just becoming so unpleasant, and I don't remember any of the others in the series being this unpleasant. This isn't just the Danzig, but the Jena battle was definitely not an exciting battle. And then the Auerstadt and the combination situation, which is, you know, kind of where it's supposed to shine, is combine the two and use some of the what-ifs. Just leaves me with so many questions, and it's just like, it feels like a half-assed attempt was put together to put this. Of course, my playing may feel like a half-assed attempt too. And, you know, maybe that's where the problem is, right? I don't know. But I just have, like, no will to go on. Attempting some other things just to jockey around and see if I can break loose the French position somehow. The French still moving some forces, shifting one up here. I don't feel completely comfortable with the amount of force that I have across the swamp. Those squares broke up, moved up here. They're protected from the gun right now, but they're going to have to come out and face it fairly soon. And it's a long walk, especially since I got to trickle through this to avoid the charge capability. Because, and the woods weren't going to work, because if I entered the woods, I would no longer be in square. I would take the extra casualty from cav charges. Chances were that I would get broken up, because infantry defending in the forest are still column value, so I'd still be twice the size of my units, but these units are not full strength anymore. Not sure what to do with this caveat. I can't move within range or I would be charged, except maybe that's not that big a deal because the cav value of a charge is just a 1 attack. There's no particular advantage to attacking cav that's moving in the forest, so I might win a crapshoot there. But I decided to try this instead. I unlimbered some artillery. Now I can't hit this yet, but on the French turn it will be able to, because I'll have the extra firepower from the kill zones to enable me to cancel out the redoubts that are there. This kind of trial and error, just see, oh, can I sneak by you this way? Can I do this? Do the rules allow this? This is not wargaming to me, and certainly not tactical wargaming. For me, tactical wargaming is about, oh, this is the formation that I use to handle this. This is the pattern that I use to attack. It just either works or it doesn't. You know, maybe it comes up with a die roll with a span or something, but it's not like this, oh, I'm automatically screwed or I'm automatically good, and the only way that I can figure it out is by either fiddling around in my head, but I almost need to see the pieces move around on this. It's one of the problems I have with playing things that are non-intuitive and newish. So if I'm fiddling around with something like Axis Empires, the Totaler Krieg, etc., that's such a totally new system that, you know, I immediately lay it down and say, I got to understand how this fucker works. And I go through this kind of pain to understand what the mechanisms of the game are trying to express. Here I don't have that kind of confidence, right? Because here what I have is essentially modifications to a system that I do have that kind of confidence, that after I play a couple of battles and kind of come down to my patterns, they work, but modified to work with special rules in a scenario that, you know, I just am not convinced it's doing what it's supposed to, especially given, you know, how it looks to me like this is either a cakewalk or a death ride, you know, depending on how you interpret one rule that's poorly written. I do not have the confidence that the game expresses what the tactics and what the situation actually is. And, you know, without that confidence, it's really hard to enjoy playing, especially when you pick up a series expecting it to play kind of like the series. Yeah. When I look to see, hey, how long will it take me to make Danzig surrender? Remember, the next 2 turns are the way to get a victory. It would have to happen in those next 2 turns. So I got unlucky with the Corvette. I'm just screwed. I mean, I really am. I'm not going to get it in 2 turns. I might get it in 4 turns, which will be a great Prussian victory. So I could quit right now. I do want to smash it out a little harder, though. The French just found their victory. I charged up here, took some shots, meleeed, destroyed the artillery, disorganized the unit. I'm a bigger unit. The cav tried to slip through here, because if I can get that cav out here, it can cause problems, unless the artillery tears it to shreds, but whatever. But I could position myself within charge range and maybe win the fight, I don't know. And I was going to push the infantry forward, countercharge, disorganized me. Again, I was at like 3-1 with the French. I think this may be the end. The Russians are going to pull back here, and we will be invested at this point. French fire over here. The mortars failed. We got the investment bonus. That dropped it by 1, no desertions. We blew up. I forgot to repair the Prussian guns. I did it now. But I didn't repair all of them. I left 1 repair point in place. But I did manage to blow up the rest of the active guns. That turned out to be 3 of them because there was 1 that had moved. I don't know, that gets me down to 26 ammo left. That's what I have left to blast this wall away. If I can get that, I get 2 more morale points. I still don't think, I'm not going to make it even to the Great Prussian victory, but yeah, whatever. And I think I'm going to stop fiddling around on here because I'm pretty much assured a Prussian victory, although maybe I'll come and try a stream down this way. I think that's actually just a waste of fucking time. And, you know, it's like, hey, let's make myself really annoyed rather than anything else. This bridge is now completed again. I stayed the entire turn there, or I will have stayed the entire turn there. I built a redoubt here. So now the question is, can I get this down to the 16 or whatever that I can assault it and I guess build to it, but that's in doubt, right? Whether or not that's allowed. Really, I can't. I have no way of destroying it. I have a 7-point gun here, right? I'm within the 100, so I don't take any penalties off that. So I'm at a 7. Oh yeah, 7 at -2. Okay, so I need a 6 to weaken it to the point where I can start demolishing the wall. So it is still possible. I got 26 shots to do it. We're not going to roll it all out in front of you, but yeah, it is still possible to make it. Yeah, if it weren't possible to make it in that wall, it would be impossible to take any walls without the mine, and you get one shot at a mine. So that would be really problematic. But if I was down on the, wait, no, hold on. Yeah, if I was a little bit further away, I would not be able to do it. The only reason I'm able to do this is that I get that full 7-point firepower. 10 of my 26 rounds to get the first hit on the wall. I've destroyed the infantry, right? That just dissolves. So now I'm on the 7 at only -1, which means 5s and 6s both hit. Oh, and that should actually be 2 hits on the wall because it's a 24-pounder shooting at it. I have no 12s left. And I might well be giving the Prussians a gun that I can't. If I want to keep some firepower to shoot at that remaining gun if it happens. I have 8 rounds left after I drop the wall below the 15 or whatever that that allows me, I think maybe, depending on how you want to interpret the rules, to dig into here. Okay? There's really nothing complex here. I can take the space. That gets me 2 more morale points. And from now on, there's nothing interesting to the game. All we're doing from now on, and I'll handle this all at once, really. So that is the end of this turn. There's nothing that, I mean, I build some entrenchments, I go up there. There are things that I can do, but they don't have any mechanical effect on play, essentially. Maybe killing some units, maybe fighting for spaces, but screw that. Right now, there's one thing that impacts the play. And that is going to be, next turn, Prussian morale goes down by 1 for being invested, and I get 3 shots with the mortar. And I think that's it. I could be piddling around with the troops to see who defects and what comes back, but screw it. Okay, so that's first turn. Not a great victory. Second turn, Prussian morale goes down by 1, and the mortars. No hits. Okay, it's no longer a chance of a French victory. Third turn, we get 1 more hit. Okay, so now it would be a minor Prussian victory if it had ended this turn, but it didn't. We go down there. It's now a great Prussian victory. 1 more. That gets us to 2. We could have gotten lucky and gotten a surrender that would be a great Prussian victory, but it's automatically a great Prussian victory anyway. All right, well, what can I say? I don't have much to say about a wrap for this because there really isn't a lot strategically that you do in this game. In terms of this, it's like the Art of Siege games. I find this style of Art of Siege game fun, but it really is just follow a certain pattern. And if you understand the rules right, which we don't know if we do for this one, you can figure out that pattern. It's kind of a trial and error thing, and there's nothing exciting to it. It really is just sort of a mechanical process that you go forward and you roll some dice and you see what happens. I happen to really like that design as expressed in Sevastopol, to have kind of lukewarm feelings about it in Lille, and maybe I would gain lukewarm feelings in this if I grow to a comfort with, yes, I'm interpreting the rules correctly. It's much harder to batter the walls in this one than in either of the ones of the SPI game over there. This map, I despise. You're playing Viva la Emperor, sort of, but it ends up being well, what can I do to like manage to get where I need to get to without getting completely killed by these fire zones, or how can I make my way around these cav that work not like cav? None of it feels like a Napoleonic battlefield to me. And it doesn't particularly feel like the kind of situation that would be involved in a real siege work, a real investiture of a siege. It's too painful. I think that painfulness is an attempt to make something of a game that's more than this sort of mechanistic functionality that happens on the siege map, which I like, but I can understand why a lot of people aren't thrilled with. So this one is, to me, sort of the worst Viva la Emperor game that I've seen, with with definitely one of the weakest implementations of those Art of Siege rules that I've seen. And I haven't seen many, okay? That particular rule set, there's 2 in that box, and I haven't seen anything else do it. The only bright spot to me is seeing that rule set being used for something else, or something like that rule set, that concept, being used for another game, because I think it's really, really cool the way it works. It's got so many mechanical problems, though, with bumping, your siege works, and then there's just not that much in terms of strategy or anything that the player really adds to it. Once you kind of figure out how the parallels are going to lay down, it kind of becomes more a game of measurement than anything else. Did you guess your measurements right? Do you end up, getting blown out just by the counter battery fire or whatever? All right, let's talk a little bit, because I don't know if I absolutely reviewed the Jena hour stat modules. Jena is not a fair battle. I mean, there's just no way to make that a fair battle by the historical. Napoleon shows up with a huge force against a much weaker and brittle Prussian force, and he's going to kick its ass. And there's not much you can do about it. The command structure for the Prussians is so lousy that they don't have many opportunities to even try to delay you or make anything work well. They're in retreat from the beginning. Our stat is an interesting situation. Unfortunately, trying to pin the initial morning fog rules to a combined scenario, and there are, rules for the combined scenario, etc., but there's none for the historical combined scenario, ended up a mess. And it ended up totally screwing up our stat, not giving me historical results at all, because Blucher's Cav was fine and is a really, really potent arm. The big plus in this are the what-ifs. What if you can make a Jena an interesting battle, but you're not playing the historical battle? Or what if you have different deployments for the combined 2 battles, and the Prussians can try to do something clever? And that uses that, hey, let's combine the rules for the 2 scenarios. Well, you end up without the Blucher special rules, which should but don't end up leaving him in a crappy position in our stat, if you try to glue them on the way I did. But you do end up with something that's kind of a playable, interesting situation. And I wouldn't say that that's out of the realm of a decent treatment as a whole. However, if you're interested in playing out the historical battles, this is not the boxed set for Viva la Emperor you should get. Maybe we'll see what some of the others are. I really liked the Le Retour of the Emperor, wherever I have that picking about up there. I'm hoping Leipzig is as good, because I paid a pretty decent penny for it. Not, I got it at a good price per pound for a war game, but in terms of the amount of material you get for it off the used market. But it's a big game, and I hope it's better than this was. I'm also hoping Hanau is better than this was, but I have less certainty of that. It feels to me like I didn't mind the Spanish battles too much, but it feels to me like the amount of discipline that's going into producing additional versions of this series may be faltering. It may just be that in this particular case, the designer was not, letting his wheels fully lock in, and it also may have been that the development, and play testers were like, wow, these kind of suck, and didn't want to put in the effort to polish it as much. I don't know. I can't recommend this set. As always, Viva la Emperor is kind of a game kit more than anything else. So this one's further along that line. Part of the problem with the series as a whole is this: it's so configurable that none of the rules really fit together, except maybe the basic rules that I can't imagine anybody wanting to play with because I have a desire to play things that have the written orders or whatever, that have that full command system. And that's another thing. The command system's gone from here. You've got some weird shit, like units are disorganized. So this is a battle, an operational map, a series of operational map rounds is supposed to be like 5 days minimum. And I can't rally my troops in that time. It's just so disturbing. But Viva la Emperor is meant to handle individual engagements where units, while they should be able to recover in the time span here, are also not fighting constantly for 5 days either. So that may be the kind of trade-off that's going on there. Anyway, this one was pretty damn disappointing for me as a box set for a system. This is where I wanted to get my way back into the system, get my feet wet on it again, or at least dirty. And I'm, almost discouraged enough that I don't want to play the next 2 games of the series that, I had planned. So I really can't recommend this particular box set. It's the most disappointing that I've run into yet, and hoping the others are better. I'm hoping the others please me, and maybe it's something wrong with me. Maybe I've changed, Maybe I don't have tolerance for fuzzy rules the way I did 5 years ago or whenever I did the last one.